In 2024, I slept on an air mattress in my friend's basement for 9 months until I made $33,000 per month in my AI agency. And then in this video, I'm going to go over the exact process that I went through, the psychology, the framework, what I exactly did on a day-to-day basis to be able to scale my online business through this one. And if you're watching this video, you're probably looking to start an AI agency. You start an AI agency, or maybe you're just going through the motions of scaling your agency. And in this video, I'm going to go over the exact process that I went through so that you don't have to go through the same 9 months of complete struggle to be able to scale your business to this level. And those 9 months were one of the most formulative and most fulfilling but artist time of my life. But I look back on those 9 months and I want to bring back the same dog that I had in me today, right? And so let's take a look on how I scaled my agency and the raw reality of what it takes to scale an online business when you're starting out for the first time. And most people, when they're looking at online business models, and you probably maybe tried different online businesses before, maybe you worked a 9 to 5, you probably have the whole Amazon effect of things. Like, most people live a life of instant gratification. They think that you will just be able to watch a couple of tutorials and make your first dollar within like a week, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Is in order for me to be fully comfortable in my business, it took me 9 months, and realistically I thought it would only take me 2 weeks to close my first client, and it honestly took 3 times as much work and took 3-4 times as long. And so what actually happened was I had this screenshot of this is an air mattress that I slept on. And so from here I worked. This is our second floor where we had our laptops and everything, and I took a photo here because we ran out of AC in the summer here in New Jersey, and it's extremely hot, and I was sleeping on an air mattress during these 9 months. One of the most interesting parts of my life. But when you're starting an online business, in order to scale, there's 2 things you have to expend: either time or money, right? Maybe you work 9 to 5, maybe you work a job. Prior to this, I was a videographer, and so I was used to trading time for money, right? I would go on site, create videos, go to weddings, and then they paid me for the time that I traded. But in order to start a business, you cannot continuously trade time for money. You have to get over this way of thinking that I'm just going to continue trading time for money. That's not how it works. A business, point of a business, it runs without you being there. And if you need to continue to trade time for money, it's not a business. You need to get over that way of thinking. And that's one of the things that I struggled with initially, is that the mindset of I need to make my money work for me, right? And what happens with time if you trade time for money? Well, there's an opportunity cost, because there are people who are not trading time for money. They're sleeping and making money. But why do they have that, right? It's because there's some things that you shouldn't work on. You shouldn't be cooking. You shouldn't be working on creating Canva profiles. There's a lot of tasks in your business that there's an opportunity cost in you working on. You as a business owner, there are tasks that generate more revenue per hour that you spend, right? And then there's, for example, sales probably is the one activity when you're starting out that generates the most amount of revenue. So if you're not talking to people and selling your services, all of the other tasks that you do throughout the day are lesser of value than that 1 hour that you usually spend doing sales. So if you spend a lot of time, there's an opportunity cost on what you can do, and you only have 24 hours in the day. Realistically, you need to sleep 8 hours, right? And you only have 16 hours left, and then you have to eat, go to the gym, and do all these things, right? So trading time for money, you're only limited 24 hours, and there's an opportunity cost if you work on the things that don't scale your business. So over time, you're just going to become more demoralized the more time you spend on something, right? And then money, right? Is you don't spend time, you spend money, right? And the good thing was I had around $14,000 saved, but I burned through half of it before I saw a single dollar back. And here, in order to get better, well, if you had money, well, what would you do, right, to scale in AI agents? Well, you have essentially, when you're starting out as a beginner, a lack of knowledge and knowing if what you're doing is the right thing, right? So for me, I had to hire a sales coach because I was terribly dog shit at sales. And in order for me to get better, I could, continue to jump on these sales calls. I was running paid ads, continuing to burn my money into thin air, or I could hire a sales coach to get better, right? And I hired a door-to-door sales coach to train me for 3 weeks to get me on my feet and start closing deals. So what it was you don't have the skills. I didn't have the knowledge. I also didn't take the action. I didn't do enough sales calls. So if you have money, you can trade for time by investing in coaching or courses. Right? For me, I invested in sales coaching, and to also make more time back, you can run on paid ads instead of cold calling, cold email, waiting for people to show up on a Zoom call for you to sell them. You can run paid ads, right? Get leads immediately, right? And so if you want to remove the guesswork on starting an AI agency, and you want to just start jumping on 5 to 10 calls per day, start selling, not worry about the workflows you have to build, but actually learn how to sell AI to businesses. You can apply for our program at AI Sales Academy, book a call with my team. We're going to see if you're a good fit for us, allow us to take you from $10,000 per month in the first 90 days and scale from there. Back to what I was saying is you got to remember this thing about morale, right? Is forget time and money. And anything that we do and anything that we start, morale is a big deal. Guys, let me draw a graph for us. So this is what it looks like. Why? So first is we're going to spend more and more time on something, okay? The more you see progress, the more time you spend in a business, right? The more time that you spend is just in order for a business to grow, there's more and more time, right? And what happens if we don't see progress is what happens during this time is our morale. If we don't see progress, our morale is going to decrease, right? And if you don't see progress in something, think about anything that you tried. Maybe you tried playing baseball, tried a new sport. If you try and put in a lot of effort, you don't see the positive feedback loops, you don't see any green flags that, hey, I'm getting better. How do you feel, right? How do you feel mentally? Well, you're discouraged, right? You're like, I'm not, doing well. So if you spend a lot of time and you don't see results, well, obviously your morale decreases, right? Because then you're seeing that, hey, the more effort that I'm putting in, I'm not getting feedback, your morale lowers more and more. Because the more amount of time you spend on something, you don't see progress, there's the less morale you have. Then you're like, bro, this isn't working, right? But if you're able to see the feedback, right? If you're able to get the feedback, the more that you put in the work, what actually happens is your morale might dip a little bit and increase if you have the knowledge and had the feedback that you're going in the right place. And in order to know this, the only way for you to know this is if you worked with someone, or let's say you worked with another business owner and they went through your same shoes. Well, the only reason that you know you're doing well is if you ask them and right? And so thankfully, I work with people in the program that I knew that I was going in the right direction, that my numbers looked right. And so because I knew I was moving in the right direction, I just lacked the skills that I hadn't spent enough time in to make the money that I needed to. My morale didn't decrease. 100% there were times where I didn't know where I was going, but because I had invested in myself and knew that I was going on the right path, and it was just a matter of time, and I had to continuously put in the work. So one of the most important things, regardless if you trade time or money, you have to keep in mind that your morale is one of the most important parts to maintain when you're running an online business, right? But what does morale actually look like? I really break it down into, is your physical health, right? Are you going to the gym every day? Are you getting enough sleep? If you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to the gym, you don't feel energized, right? You're not awake, you don't feel good, you're not productive, right? Your physical health isn't good, then you're not going to have morale. You're not sleeping well, you're not going to do good work, right? Nothing is mental health, right? How do you feel towards, like, are you stressed? Are you agitated? You're going to be stressed, you're going to be anxious, but how do you manage it, right? The most successful people manage their physical, mental, and emotional health very well, but this all comes from morale, right? And so if you balance all these things and you maintain your morale and you have the positive feedbacks to know you're going the right direction, right? We won't decrease our morale, right? The next thing is discipline, right? Discipline is showing up regardless of how we feel. This is the most important part, right? Even if we see no progress, we continue to show up, right? Regardless of our physical, mental, and emotional health, we continue to show up, right? The top 1% of people have this, that regardless of shit hit the fan, right? That regardless of their emotional, physical, and mental health, they're still going to show up no matter what. And those are the people who will succeed regardless of any online business that they work in. And during these 9 months, that's the type of person that I had to become. I knew that I need to have good morale, but morale comes from a multitude of things. Physical health, right? I was gaining weight, even though I was still going to the gym every other day. My emotional health was stress, right? And then I also, for the first 7 weeks, I didn't close a single deal. My morale was extremely low, but I didn't stop putting in the effort during the first 7 weeks until I closed my first client. And so at some point, your morale is super important for you to maintain. But even if you've exhausted all your morale, you need to have the discipline to be able to put in the work, no matter what levels of morale that you have, right? The effort that you put in needs to stay the same, right? The effort that you put in over time needs to stay the same or even increase. But the faster that it increases, right, and the more steep the curve is, depends on your morale. Because the more positive feedback that you get, that I'm going the right path, that I'm doing what's right, well, the more work that you would put in, right? Like when you're running along a race, you're seeing that you're getting closer to what's going to happen. You have more morale. You're like, oh yeah, I'm close to the end of the race, I'm going to run faster, right? And that's the same thing when running an online business, is regardless of what we spend, time or money, while we're spending time or money and we're weighing, should I, not pay, or should I just spend more time, is you have to understand the fact is, in order to succeed, you have to maintain discipline and morale, right? And whatever you do in online business. And this is something that I only realized after the fact, right? I didn't understand how to balance physical, emotional, and all these things. I didn't know how to balance my morale. I only learned that this is important after the fact. And now with anything that I do and the other online business that I do, or anything that I do in my life, I understand that if there's anything new that I do, I have to manage my morale. I have to build the discipline, because regardless of my morale, I need discipline to see success, right? And it's also to keep in mind on if you're looking at, should I spend more time or should I spend more money? You know, think about your morale, right? If you spend time, do you have enough morale and energy to not see progress and spend a lot of time not seeing anything? Or would you rather trade money and have more morale, right? Spend a lot of time, you have less morale, right? You spend more money, you have more morale, right? Because you have the positive feedback, right? Someone tells you you're going on the right path. Someone tells you you don't. Versus if you spend a lot of time, you don't want to spend any money, you're literally walking an uncertain path. You don't know where to go, right? Two people walking down on a trail. One walks on a trail that's clearly marked. He knows where he's going. He doesn't know the distance to the trail, but he knows he needs to get to the peak, right? But he gets the feedback loops. He sees he's walking on the trail. He knows on the right path. He's going to get there. Just a matter of time, right? The other person has a lot of time, but what happens to his morale if he goes on a trail, doesn't know if he's walking on the right trail, doesn't know if he's any closer to the top, or he's going to quit, right? And that's the exact process that we need to think about in online business. Is if you don't have a trail, you don't know you're walking on the right path, you won't know, you'll lose the morale to continuously push forward. And if you're aware, self-aware, and you care about the morale and want to genuinely succeed in online business and want to start an AI agency that makes $10,000 per month or more in the next 90 days, apply for our program in AI Sales Academy, and we're going to see if you're a good fit to work with us.